everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. I would like to bring in the new year by wishing you all peace, happiness, joy, good health, courage to weather the storms ahead, and love and compassion to all the OC subscribers and returning guests. Happy New Year's, everyone. This is the time of year that some of us make our New Year's resolutions. For this channel, I wish it continues to grow and blossom. I also hope to meet more like-minded people and that I have the opportunity to share more of your stories. If you are a returning guest and have not subscribed as yet, then hit that subscribe button and start this channel off on the right track. Today I have 5 encounter stories to share with you all. We'll be heading to New Mexico, Mississippi, Connecticut, Arizona, and Tennessee. I hope you all enjoy. If you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's encounters. This encounter takes place on August 31st of 1990. We're heading to Dyer County, Tennessee, and the nearest town is Dyersburg. It was a Saturday morning in August. A friend and I were going hunting. We were driving down Lanes Ferry Highway about 5 a.m. when we came around a curve and something ran across the road in front of us in the headlights. It happened so fast, I did not even have time to hit the brakes. The car came very close to hitting it. I looked at my buddy and said, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yes, what was it?" I said it looked like a baby Bigfoot. He said that's also what he thought, but he wanted to make sure I did too before he uttered the words. It was about 4 to 5 feet tall, and you could see his arms swinging when he ran across the road from one cow pasture to the other, headed towards the bluff and the river in the same direction as where we were going hunting. This one takes place on April the 22nd of 2014. We're going to be heading to Navajo County, Arizona, and the nearest town is Show Low. On approximately April 22nd of 2014, I was at Fool's Hollow Lake near Show Low, Arizona. I was out in the lake around the bend fishing where a storm was starting to roll in from the east. As the storm was getting closer, I was becoming more uncomfortable, so I decided to start heading in. I was heading west when I spotted what I thought was a bear down on all fours drinking water from the edge of the lake. I first spotted the creature off the point at the bend of the lake. The lake is in the shape of a sideways L. As I got closer to the creature, still thinking it was a large black bear, I saw it stand up on its 2 hind legs and look towards me. The creature then turned and walked into the wooded area behind it where I lost sight of it. The small time frame in which I did see the creature walking depicted very similar to the Patterson video. This creature was about 7 to 8 feet tall, longer arm length reaching towards its mid-thigh, and walking with a very long stride and hunch. The creature appeared to have a reddish-brown color to it, a few shades darker than an orangutan. After losing sight of the creature, I was unable to catch it in my sight again. With the storm right behind me and lightning all around, I did not want to be on the lake in a 12-foot aluminum boat, so I headed back to shore. This one takes place July 15th of 2022. We're heading to Litchfield County, Connecticut. The nearest town is Southbury. I live in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, on Lake Zor, about a quarter-mile south of Chapont Dam. I'm sure I didn't say that right, and I'm sure I'm going to get a few corrections there. Anyways, let's carry on. There is a large farm in this area, and a Housatonic River, Lake Zor, runs between my house and the site of the incident. The area is heavily forested, and housing is apparent along the lake. This is a very short report. One evening in late July, I opened our back sliding door to let the dog out. When I did, about 10 seconds after opening the door, I heard a roar with a yip on the end of it. It happened twice. Each roar with yip was approximately 3 seconds long, about 5 seconds apart. This happened twice in approximately 10 seconds with no other roars or sightings. Back in the late 1990s, early 2000, there was an incident in Newtown, Sandy Hook, of many rocks being thrown from a hill onto houses below at Eckler's Cove Marina. Newtown police did an investigation of this incident, and I believe an officer was almost hit by one of these rocks. They never were able to find out what threw the rocks. This next one takes place October 18th of 2013. We're going to San Miguel County, New Mexico, and the nearest town is Las Vegas. My wife and I were driving home from Denver, Colorado to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and stopped at a gas station in Las Vegas, New Mexico. I believe it was at a Phillips 66 at approximately 1 o'clock on October 18th of 2013. We pulled off I-15 southbound into the gas station parking lot. When we were driving down the frontage road towards the gas station, we saw a few vehicles on the far end of the parking lot with 3 or 4 people talking, and a New Mexico State Police cruiser was leaving the lot. However, upon parking in the front of the gas station, we discovered that it was closed. I needed to pee rather urgently, so I ran around the back of the station to find a dark place to do my business. I walked about 15 to 20 meters behind the gas station to be out of sight of the occupied vehicles in the gas station parking lot. As I was urinating, I began to feel uncomfortable. I was peeing in the open ground and initially thought somebody was walking up behind me, probably to do the same thing. I craned and looked around and saw nobody and no animals, just a blanket feeling that somebody was very near me. As I finished peeing, I turned and began to briskly walk back towards our vehicle. As I was hurrying back, I turned to look behind me, and that is when I became a believer. Before I continue, I would like to preface my anecdote by alluding to my high level of academic credentialing along with my occupation as a healthcare executive. I also provide executive and technical advice to elected and appointed officials. I have worked very hard to become an expert based on empirical analysis and studied facts. I did not believe in Bigfoot, ghosts, or any unexplained anomalies. I believed in results, hard work, and, results. My perspective is now very different. As I turned and looked over my shoulder, I saw an enormous lurking animal. The animal was crouched over, almost as if it was covering the sparse and cold vegetation. In fact, I think the creature watched me the whole time and did not make so much as a noise. However, the creature noticed when I saw it. The creature stood up and quickly lumbered into the dark away from the direction of the parking lot. The one attribute of the creature that resounded with me was how heavy the footfalls was. It sounded like somebody dropping a sack of potatoes over and over again, and it was fast. I observed the creature for about 8 to 11 seconds. From the moment it realized I saw it, to watching the animal dart into the woodline. Due to the radiant light from the parking lot, I could make steady details from the fleeing creature. Here are the salient points from my memory, aside from the footfall. The creature was approximately 8 to 10 feet tall. I'm 6'2", and this animal would have towered over me. I observed it on flat land, lending to my estimation. The hair on the creature was matted like a dog that lived outside. The coloration was dark brown. The creature had a defined gait. It took strides that I would estimate to be 3 to 4 of my strides per one of its stride. The creature had massive human-like hands. The creature was very skittish, not moving until realizing I was observing it, lending to a higher intellect than a brown bear. I believe the creature may have even fled in fear. I did not make eye contact, but I noticed a massive brown and defined jaw and cranial structure. There is one other trait that I have since read about that may allude to this being a New Mexico Bigfoot. The air was rank with what I thought was a dumpster behind a gas station. However, this may be the musk eyewitnesses have reported in the past. I cannot be sure, but it was very powerful and somewhat reminiscent of what I perceived to be urine. The incident was fearful and moving. I was unable to sleep for days and could not even bring myself to tell my wife until recently. Due to my profession and reputation, I have extreme reluctance about openly sharing my encounter. However, I have personal visual evidence of so-called mythical beast, and I do not know what to do with it. Another fact, I have a concealed carry handgun license in the state of New Mexico and was carrying a 1911 .45 caliber at the time of the incident. I was so scared that reaching for my weapon would have been an afterthought. I was actually scared stiff. All right, so this is the last story of the day. This one takes place October 21st of 2010. We're going to Clark County, Mississippi, and the nearest town is Quitman. At the time of this occurrence, we had been at Clarko State Park for 2 nights in a cabin. The previous morning, Wednesday, October the 20th of 2010, I had walked the length of the cabin road to its dead end, turned around, and then walked the length of the cabin road all the way across the dam to the park's headquarters building. During this time, I shot photos of leaf colors, a duck on water, and various other things. Nothing unusual was seen or heard that morning of Wednesday, October the 20th of 2010. The following morning, Thursday, October the 21st of 2010, I woke up around 7:30 a.m. My wife was still asleep. I had a bit to eat, put on my clothes, got my digital camera, and headed out on the road towards the dam of Clarko Lake to get some early morning photos. The time I left the cabin was about 8:15 a.m. The temperature was down around 45 degrees that morning, and there was little fog coming off the lake. The morning was completely clear, brilliant sunshine with no overcast and some light breeze now and then. I tried to sneak up on some turtles that were out on a log to shoot a photo, but they were too quick for me. All of them slipped away into the water. I shot a few photos of the lake, leaf colors, and the fog from the south end of the dam, the end away from the park headquarters building. After shooting several photos, I headed back to the cabin on the road that led away from the dam. When I was about 150 feet from our cabin, I heard a distinct knocking sound like you would get if you were hitting a 2x4 with another 2x4, or maybe hitting a 2x4 with a hammer. I thought there might be some carpenters doing some work at a house located nearby. However, we were inside the state park and I knew of no houses, other than the rangers' houses within the park. This knocking sound continued on. I didn't count the number of knocks, but I'd say they numbered at least 10 knocks and were in a steady rhythm. I stopped walking and looked directly into the wooded, hilly area in the direction the sound seemed to be coming from, towards the south. The knocking stopped when I stopped walking. I saw nothing and heard nothing while I was stopped on the road. There were no odors in the air at this time either. As I mentioned above, there was a light breeze blowing from time to time that morning. Then I proceeded to walk to our cabin, which was only about another 75 feet away. As I began to walk, the knocking sound started again, and this time I attempted to count the knocks. There were 5 or 6 knocks in a steady rhythm. Then there were no more. When I got onto the driveway of the cabin, I again looked in the direction that I thought the sounds came from and saw nothing. Could this sound have come from construction work between the state park and U.S. Highway 45? Could there have been utility company crew working in the woods on a power line? I have been in the woods for years as a scout leader, a camper, and as a hunter. I have heard woodpeckers and other animals make noises before. This was not a woodpecker. This was not a deer hitting a tree with its rack. This was a heavy and deliberate sound. This knocking sound was unlike any animal sound I have ever encountered. There were no whoops, calls, or other noises, just a wood knocking sound. The knocking was a hard sound, almost like a carpenter hitting a piece of wood repeatedly with a hammer in a steady rhythm. That's one of the reasons I lean towards it being the sound from a construction site. However, the fact that the knocking stopped when I stopped walking and looked into the woods, and then resumed when I began walking again, makes me think there are other possibilities as to its origin. After coming home from the state park, I listened to wood knocking sounds on the Geographer website. The wood knocking sound I heard matched exactly as the recorded wood knocking sound on some of the Bigfoot websites. Again, the sound was similar to hitting 2 2x4s together or pounding on 2x4 with a hammer. During mid-morning of the same day, we left the state park and went to Meridian for a few hours. My wife was not feeling well when we returned, so when we got back to the state park, we packed our belongings in a car and headed for home. We had paid for 3 nights at the park, but we only stayed 2 nights. We left the park around 3:30 p.m. that day. I didn't hear or see anything out of the ordinary the remainder of the time that we were in the state park. All right, guys, that's going to wrap everything up. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories that I shared today. The last one was intriguing. Did he hear a Sasquatch hitting a tree with a piece of wood, or was it something else? I guess we will truly never know since there was not a sighting. The intriguing one to me was the fellow that had to stop to urinate. And I wonder as well what the 3 or 4 people were talking about to the state police. Because as you remember, when they were pulling in, the police cruiser was leaving and a bunch of people were all huddled together talking. What were they talking about at 1 o'clock in the morning? Kind of interesting. The fact that this fellow felt something was behind him and then turned and saw this creature squatted down and then stand up to walk away. Pretty awesome. He was able to give a really good description of not only the strides, but the physical appearance and possibly a smell. Very interesting story. The other interesting one was the fellow that was fishing on Fool Hollow's Lake. Now, you have to wonder where areas or lakes, mountains, where they get their names, because some of these names are really bizarre. Fool's Hollow Lake? I wonder what happened there in the past that it got that name. Anyways, very interesting how they saw a Sasquatch that resembled the Patterson video of how the creature was walking away. Very, very cool. Anyways, that's going to end it off for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories. And if these stories remind you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your stories on this channel. Again, I would like to wish you all a very, very happy New Year. And thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.